Dividends, what are they? Why do investors like them, and should you like them? Welcome back to Rainbow Investing, where we examine a spectrum of ideas to increase your long-term wealth. I hope you're having a lovely evening. So let's get right into it. Tonight, as you may have guessed, we are talking about dividends. And I really wanted to talk a bit about dividends because they are a huge part of investing, particularly in Australia. So exactly what is a dividend? Put basically, it's a reward for owning a company's shares. Companies want to reward owners of their own company, and they do that by paying a dividend. A dividend is a cash payment to the owners of the company. That's all it is. So when a company has a profit left over after they take their revenue and minus their expenses, they pay a lot of that out in a dividend. So dividends are basically profits paid from the profit pool of the company and distributed to the owners of the company or the shareholders. Now, dividends are normally paid in what's called a yield. So a yield of maybe 5% means that for every $100 of money you have in a company, you are paid $5 every year. So the dividend yield is normally paid twice a year, so you get $2.50 every 6 months. Now, dividends are very, very popular in Australia. And why that is because our tax system uniquely in the whole of the world rewards dividend paying companies and rewards shareholders who own dividend paying companies. Dividends are far less popular in America, England, and pretty much every other country. But Australian companies and Australian investors love our dividends. Now, companies pay dividends as a way of rewarding shareholders, as I said earlier. Now, dividend paying companies are normally large companies because they don't expect to grow much more. So companies like Commonwealth Bank, Telstra, Woolworths all pay quite a healthy dividend because they have already reached quite a large size. So they're not expecting to grow 20% next year. They're expecting to grow 4% next year. Apple has been the biggest company in the world for the last at least 7 years. I think it's 7 years. And Apple has spent the last 2 decades enjoying huge growth. First with the iPod, then the iPhone, Macs, Apple Watch. You know, the list goes on about all the successful products they've had. But they've only just started paying a dividend in the last couple of years. And that's because they know that they can't get that 15, 20, 25% growth that they've been enjoying for the last 20 years. It's only just that they've started to slow down. They're still making heaps and heaps and heaps of money, but they know that they can't just grow that much more. I mean, people aren't going to start buying 2 iPhones each. So they've started paying all that cash that they're generating out as a dividend. And most people think they will slowly increase this over the next decade or 2. Because they know they can't grow that much more, instead of reinvesting all of their profit back into the business to try and grow more, they pay it out as dividends. So you'll often find that it's the larger companies that pay the most dividends. In Australia, the 4 big banks pretty much have the biggest dividends in the whole stock market. But companies like Telstra, Woolworths, AGL, who sells electricity, Coles, BHP, other big mining companies, they all have quite substantial dividends. Now, why do investors like this so much? I mean, it doesn't sound a lot if you have $100 and you're getting $5 a year. But if you have $500,000 in, say, Commonwealth Bank, you're starting to look at $25,000 to $30,000 a year. So a lot of older people in particular quite like dividends because it provides an income stream that they can use in retirement. So what a lot of retirees will do is get all this super money that they've saved up over their working lives and buy dividend paying shares. And then that basically pays them an income. It's almost like a grossed up version of the pension. But younger people do like dividends as well, and that's mainly because of a thing called dividend reinvestment programs. So when you receive your dividend from, say, Commonwealth Bank, you can either take that in cash, so you'll get a check in the mail, or you can choose to have that money reinvested in Commonwealth Bank shares. So say if you have $10,000 invested in Commonwealth Bank shares and they're paying a 6% yield, so every year you're getting $600, you can either choose to have that $600 sent to you in cash, or you can actually reinvest it. So you can tell Commonwealth Bank to buy $600 worth of Commonwealth Bank shares and just have that reinvested. But what happens the next year is instead of $10,000 worth of Commonwealth Bank shares, you've got $10,600 worth of Commonwealth Bank shares. And then that gets a 6% yield. So you can see how this can compound over time. And this dividend yield doesn't stop during a recession, doesn't stop when Commonwealth Bank has an earnings downgrade, doesn't stop if Commonwealth Bank loses a few thousand customers. They will keep paying that year in, year out. And so you're less vulnerable to the up and down fluctuations of the stock price because you know no matter what, you're getting that 6% return reinvested. And a lot of people really like that stability. And if you leave this over, say, 1, 2, or even 3 decades, you can see how you're really starting to build up a big position in a big dividend paying company. And then maybe when you hit retirement, you flick that switch on the shares and all of a sudden you're getting a huge cash stream every year or every 6 months into your bank account. So you can understand why people really like dividends. Another advantage of this kind of long-term dividend investing is that a lot of companies will pay a dividend every year, but they'll also increase it every year. So say they're paying $1 per share, the next year they might pay $1.10 per share, and the next year they might pay $1.20 per share. So if you've just invested one lump sum into, say, Commonwealth Bank, the return on your investment is actually rising very slowly each year. And that can make a huge difference down the road, say in 10 or 20 years. So a lot of people like to pick companies that they know are still growing, and maybe they're not paying a huge dividend right now, but they think that that company is so solid that they will be able to increase that dividend exponentially over the next 10 to 20 years. And if you hold those shares that whole time or even add more to them, then you'll be getting a larger and larger and larger increase on that. I read something the other day, Warren Buffett, when he bought Coca-Cola in the 1980s, he obviously bought them at a very low price. And they were paying a very small dividend then. But ever since then, they've managed to grow their dividend, grow it every year, year after year after year. And now Warren Buffett, every single year, gets a 60% yield on his original investment. So that's like saying, I bought $10,000 worth of Coca-Cola stock, and then every single year, 20 years later, you're getting 60% of that back every year. So, I mean, you can see he's done very, very well for himself. And this is what a lot of people try and do with dividend investing. Other people just like dividends as a form of passive income. So they'll have the checks roll in, they won't reinvest them, but say every 6 months, they'll have a free pool of money that they can invest in something else. Because that's what dividends are. They really are a form of passive income. You just get paid for owning the shares. No, nothing more. You don't have to work for the money. That money comes to you whether you're sick, whether you're at work, whether you're young, whether you're old. That money just keeps rolling in as long as you have money in the company, as long as you own the company's shares. And that's how dividends are really a form of passive income. So there you have it, guys. I thought I'd talk about dividends because whenever you really hear about people talking about investing, particularly in Australia, you'll eventually hear the word dividend brought up. And that's what it is. It's basically just a cash payment that rewards you for holding the company's shares. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll be back with some more videos soon for sure, but for now, good night.